What is up, everybody? I'm Scott Melker, and this is the Wolf of Wall Street's podcast. Today's guest is an NCAA wrestling champion, Bellator champion, American Olympic wrestler, retired UFC fighter, and is now preparing to defeat Jake Paul in the boxing ring. More importantly than all that, at least to us, is that Ben is a Bitcoiner, podcaster, and thought leader in the crypto space. I wanted to have Ben on to discuss his thoughts on this Bitcoin cycle and some of the recent news events going on in the crypto space, and to see if he could offer some insight as to whether athletes are becoming increasingly interested in crypto. So without further ado, introducing our guest, fighting out of the red corner, Ben Funky Askren.
What's up? I'm excited to be here.
What's up, man? Thank you. So once again, you're listening to the Wolf of Wall Street's podcast, which airs twice a week, and I talk to your favorite personalities from the worlds of Bitcoin, finance, trading, art, music, sports, and politics. This podcast is powered by Blockworks, the fastest growing media company in the digital asset space. Blockworks has 20 Bitcoin and crypto podcasts. I'm excited to be part of their network. Visit blockworks.co for access to the highest quality information in the space. And if you like the podcast and follow me on Twitter, check out my website, join my newsletter. You can do both of those things at thewolfofallstreets.io. Now to get into what's important. So your nickname is Funky. For the fans that don't know, why do people call you that?
Yeah. Well, they actually started from wrestling when the current style of wrestling was starting to happen in the late 90s. They just called it funk. And then I kind of reinvented and took it to a new level in the mid 2000s. And, you know, that was kind of what I was being known for. And then my buddy just made a shirt. Well, that's funny. I'm wearing a funky shirt right now. So my buddy actually, this middle figure right here, this guy, my buddy just, he was like kind of like artistic, I guess. And he just put it on a shirt and he put funky above it. And then he wore it to NCAs and it like caught on, you know, ESPN put it on camera. And I tried to get rid of it a couple of times, but it stuck. And then, you know, at that point, there's no use in fighting it anymore. And I just went with it. And you know what? The longer I stick with it, the more I enjoy it because it is, especially in the MMA space, it's like different. You know, there's like so many like assassins or killers or, you know, and so it's nice to be differentiated a little bit.
What is the funk style of wrestling for those who don't know?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is funny because it kind of I feel like it plays into my whole mindset and why I got into crypto, or I guess why crypto got into me so easily, is it's an extension of everything that's already happening. And so, you know, not to get into, I don't want to get too technical, but say someone shoots a high crotch, right? Well, the first basic defense is a down block, the second basic defense is a sprawl. And ideally, we'd like to be perfect and those two would work. But at certain times, they get in so deep that those two defenses are gone. So at that point, you could say, okay, I guess he got this far. I'm giving up a takedown. Or you could try to kind of reinvent and think of a new way to defend it. And that was kind of where I went with a lot of positions. And a lot of those things I went to are, like I said, in 2000. So I wrestled 2003 to 2007 in college. And when I was doing them back then, people were just like, oh, what the hell is he doing? He's rolling around, weird shit. And, you know, and now most people, at least, they have to have a pretty solid understanding to succeed at higher level folk style wrestling. And then certain guys are even taking it far past what I did at that point in time.
So it's largely about improvisation and being able to react to a situation that gets basically out of your control or is something that you don't expect. Kind of perfect for crypto markets.
And being open to new ideas, I think is I think probably the bigger one is being open to new ideas and new ways to make things work. And that's, you know, that's kind of where I think it goes into crypto. Because I remember the first time my buddy told me about it, I was in a hotel room in Shanghai. My buddy actually wrestled me in college, but he lives in Australia now. And he told me, and I'm like, oh shit, how do I buy some of that? Like, that's the thing. And I always laugh because when I first got on, well, for number one, it was really hard to buy stuff.
Yeah. What year was that?
That was July of 2017, maybe. So probably, you know, not super early, but early compared to a lot
relatively
of people.
Around when I got into it too, late 2016, early 2017. Yeah.
And so I remember the maximum you could buy in a week was, at least for me, was $4,000. And it took me like, you know, 6 weeks to get that amount lifted and raised. So it was frustrating because, like, yes, I see this and I see it going up and I get it. And I just couldn't get my money in fast enough. I wanted to get it in faster. And then the second thing that's funny, and something you actually have been tweeting about a lot lately, is I believed in it so wholeheartedly. And I still do. Like, I think it's the future. The first time my buddy talked through it, I'm like, oh, this is the future. This is for sure the future. But I didn't take any money out. I took no profits. And now it's like, oh my God, I'm stupid. I probably should have taken a few profits. And to this day, I have sold a little bit of a few things. I still have sold 0 Bitcoin.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And when I talk about taking profit, I was pretty clear. I view Bitcoin as a savings account. So largely, I'm not selling that. But when I see an
Yeah.
altcoin go up 20, 30, 50, 100x, I'm going to take something off the top so that I don't experience that 2018 pain again, which I know we went through. But I think for most people still to just invest and hold and wait 10 years is probably the best way. It's just kind of painful when it's drawing down at those times. So what was it about Bitcoin when he told you about it that you got it so quickly and it resonated? Because I find that most people who came in 2017 were just speculating. They didn't care about Bitcoin at all. They just saw something they could buy and everyone told them would go up.
Yeah, I think I already knew central banks were shit, and they, these are not good people. These are really bad people. And so I think it was, hey, this is something that's not controlled by anyone. It's decentralized. It's set up beyond the scope of control of any single person or entity. I think that was the thing that really got me. As we know, and America's had a largely successful central bank. And a lot of Americans don't look outside of America, and you see, there's countries right now that are inflating at 20+% per year. I mean, some of them are way past that. And so just the entire central bank system in the world is really sketchy. And I think that's probably, if I had to identify one thing, that was probably it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So I have to imagine that your belief in it has only accelerated since, especially with COVID and the global economic meltdown. Because if you already recognize how shitty central banks were in 2017, then imagine taking a look at them in 2020.
For real. You know what? The other thing that I guess I was able to see, so I fought exclusively in Asia for a 4-year period, 2014 to 17, when I retired for the first time. And I guess there's 2 other things that, my eyes were already open to, in addition to the fact that I hated central banks. And I guess that was number one, the unbanked, people not having access to the banking system. People in America don't really, for the most part, understand that, but that's a thing in a lot of parts of the world.
Sure.
And then the other thing was the remittance payments. So for me, that was like, oh my God, this is such an obvious use case of crypto, is these remittance payments. So literally, if you're in Singapore or Hong Kong, and I've been to both these places, you will see, like in Singapore on Sundays, like there'll just be these mass gatherings of people. And the first couple of times, I'm like, what are all those freaking people doing over there? I'm just hanging out, walking around. And it's like they have to go to this very specific spot. Right? Because the wealth inequality between America and Mexico is, say 3 to 1-ish, somewhere like that. But from Singapore to Indo, or Singapore to Philippines, it's like 30 to 1. I mean, it's crazy. The wealth inequality is insane. And so there's all these migrant workers who go to Singapore and they work, and then they want to send money home, and they got to go to, Western Union or whatever. And it takes 6 days. And they charge you 14% or something absurd. And so the ability for me to have my phone, and I can send you money and no one can stop it. It doesn't need a third-party intermediary. Like, I can send it from me to you in 1 to 2 minutes, probably.
Yeah, we could have been done by the time you even described that, which is really incredible. And then you talk about, you boil that down even further, and sending a small amount of money to someone across the world is basically impossible, right? So if those people are only making 10, 15, 20 bucks or something in a day, right? I mean, how do you send that to somebody with a bank?
Yeah. I mean, it's for real. It's a huge problem. And a lot of people in America don't really see that. And that's something that, So I think it was like a whole bunch of things all at once that just were like, as soon as you started describing it to me, I'm like, oh yeah, let's freaking go. How do I put all my money in there? And I could only get it $4,000 a week, but I got in quite a bit, and I watched it go up and I watched it go down. And now, I lasted all the way through the bear market without selling anything. And now I'm here enjoying the fruits of my labors.
That's a good lesson, that if you hold long enough in a market, that you end up doing well, even though you have to suffer a lot of pain in between. I'm curious if living in Asia for 4 years, you had any like crazy tax stories. I was in Japan for 6 months. Obviously, as an American citizen, no matter where you go in the world, you're going to pay your taxes, right? Because it's a
Yes.
citizenship tax. It's not like you need to be using the roads that you're paying for. Did you ever get like have situations where you had to pay taxes in one of those countries and in the United States? Because I had to pay a small tax in Japan on top of the taxes
Yeah.
I paid on my earnings in the United States.
Well, so I didn't live there. I fought there
Right.
exclusively, so I would spend like 2-ish weeks every time, maybe 3.
Gotcha.
Sometimes my family would come over, we go on vacation. A couple, I think Singapore withheld taxes. I don't know that a lot of the other countries did. Um, Man, there's really only one person I'm scared of in the world, and that's the IRS. So
Oh yeah.
I always like double, triple check that and make sure they get their money, because to your point, they will get their money.
Yeah, it's funny thinking back to 2017 when the narrative was like, we could trade Bitcoin and there's no taxes. Like that's what everyone was talking about back then,
So crazy, right?
2016, 17. And now it's like they came with the heavy hand and it's the worst market probably to trade for taxes because,
Yeah.
every time you trade an altcoin, every time you do anything, you're selling Bitcoin and it's a taxable transaction. It's
So
crazy.
is that not the case? So I don't really trade stocks. I had one investment account that I set up when I was younger, and then now since 2017, it's like why would I buy anything else? And my buddy's like, you got to get 401k because it's tax deductible. It's like f that. My Bitcoin went up by 800%. Why do I need a 401k? You can
It's
suck
so
it.
hard to
Like,
care. So hard to care.
I don't give a damn. But so on stock trades, you would have to trade on. You would have to pay taxes on every trade, correct? Also, or no?
Right. You pay on every trade, but they're dollars to stocks. So like it would almost be the equivalent of if you bought Amazon stock and then you bought
Mhm.
Tesla stock with Amazon stock and then viewing
Oh,
the
got it.
Amazon stock as a sale to get the Tesla. But the bigger issue being that they're viewing Bitcoin as property or but not as money, right? Because if you just spent
Yeah,
money and bought coffee, you shouldn't have to pay taxes on your
that is
dollars
true.
as you're not taking profit to buy a cup of coffee. So I think that going that entire other direction has been very bad for
So do you think
Americans,
they'll
but
ever
hopefully they'll
tax
fix
it?
that.
Do you think they'll ever treat it as a currency?
I hope so. I mean, it would make a lot more sense in my mind for it to be treated kind of like Forex trading, where you're trading currencies. Basically, like I enter this many dollars into the market. I do whatever I do in the market and I get taxed when I take my dollars out. It'll be so much
Mm,
more simple. And that's the actual profit that you've made in dollars. But who knows if they'll be sensible. I think that we'll see more sensible regulation moving forward, but I'm
yeah.
sort of an
I mean,
eternal
there was,
optimist.
yeah, for what it's worth. I mean, so many people just didn't get it, didn't understand. Even today, I hear smart people say some things, and I'm just like, I know I'm not as smart as you, but you sound like an idiot when you say that. Stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that you didn't sell at all, that you held through all of this. Is that still your plan? I mean, you have a long-term belief in it. So for
Yeah.
now, you think that we're in a long-term bull market, even if we see corrections. I mean, nobody knows when we're recording, but Bitcoin's making a huge correction as we speak,
Yes.
dropping from 58,000 all the way down to like 45,000. So does that shake you at all, or is it completely just become
Yeah.
nerves of
So,
steel?
like you, you know, I've taken a little bit the last couple months, and not in Bitcoin, but in a few altcoins, just kind of cashed out because they have went up. I don't know, as exponentially, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was like it became to the point where such a large portion of my net wealth was in crypto, and it's like, dude, as much as I believe in crypto, like I don't think this is healthy. Like I need to cash out. So it's like, well, I don't want to keep it in cash. So it's funny because my bank account's really small. And so when if I cash out a little bit, I'll pay my house down a little bit, right? Or we have a couple buildings for my business, so I put some money into that, something to that effect. So I don't just like cash out and then just let it sit as cash in the bank. I
Same.
think that's a
Can't
bad
do
idea.
that. Can't
Yes,
do
but
that.
I have been taking a little bit. I am very conflicted on whether I should cash some Bitcoin out at the top of this cycle just to buy more Bitcoin when it does drop down, because I think it has been cyclical in nature. I asked Michael Saylor that question, and he made me feel like a terrible person if I even considered.
You can't ask him
Um,
anything about taking profit.
yes, but man, I kind of feel like, say we get to October, November, and it's at some astronomical number. It's going to be so hard to not say like, hey, let me just take out 20% of my Bitcoin. I mean, last time it crashed by 80%, roughly,
Yeah.
right? So if you would have sold at anywhere near the top, you could have bought, say, we'll just say for the sake of math, 5-1 when it got to
Yeah,
the bottom.
get 5 times as much Bitcoin. Yeah.
So like when it gets into some astronomical sum, I'm not saying I'm going to go sell all of my Bitcoin, but to think that, hey, maybe I should sell 20. And then when I go back down, I'm going to, maybe I'll pay off my house a little bit. And then maybe I'll buy 4 times more Bitcoin when it goes to the bottom, because the cycles, both the tops and the bottoms. And if you want to correct me if I'm wrong, but the tops and the bottom are predictable, that it's like relatively 18 months is the top and then another 18 months is the bottom again, right?
Right. Either way, and even if you don't time it, if you sell a bunch and then when it dips, you just kind of start dollar cost averaging in and don't even try to buy the bottom, you're still going to end up way on top. I mean, it's just sensible to take profit on something that you've made a ton of money on if it can change your life in any sort of meaningful way.
Yeah.
I mean, people who make millions of dollars and start buying cars and stuff and then have to return them to the repo man a few months later, I don't want to be that guy. But I agree with you. I think that I talk about taking profits all the time, but I'm not taking profits so that dollars can sit in a bank account. The dollars, like I do it to, like you said, pay off a house, buy some land, do something, put it into another hard asset.
Yes. Yeah. And so that's where it's like, my wife wanted me to buy a rental property. And I said to her, like, well, we have 2 buildings for my wrestling academy system, right, and we own our house. It's like, so I already have those real estate. It's like, wait, you want me to cash out on crypto to buy a dog shit asset? Like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, why would I invest in anything else right now when I can invest in crypto? And if I'm going to pull something off the table, I'll pay off something I already have. And then
Smart.
I'll probably, when it goes to I'm anticipating Q4, and that's from people smarter than me. I'm not predicting. I'm just listening to smart people. I will probably take some off the table and then hold some there, and then ideally buy more when it goes lower again.
It's official. The digital art market is going mainstream. It's been exploding this past year with over 10 million in sales in December alone, and it's just getting started. There's no better time than now to diversify your holdings with art investments, which have long been seen as an asset class that's consistently outperformed the S&P 500. MAKERSPLACE is the go-to premium marketplace for purchasing rare digital artworks from the world's top creators, like comic art legend Jose Delbo, Trevor Jones, digital wizard Pac, artists collected by MoMA, Guggenheim, and many others. They have new artwork drops twice a week where collectors have the opportunity to add a coveted piece of rare digital art to their portfolio. Artworks from these drops have a history of selling out within seconds of release and have been reselling several months later for upwards of 10x. Collectors can subscribe for exclusive drop notifications on makersplace.com/thewolf. You don't want to miss out on this action. Trust me. Guys, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that one of the most exciting use cases of crypto now is to earn yield and also to take low interest loans, especially since you earn next to nothing in your crappy legacy bank account. Nexo is leading the charge in this arena with 360-degree crypto banking services. One thing that I'm really excited about that's new is that they have the Nexo exchange. It's a real game changer with more than 75 crypto and fiat pairs to swap between instantly without leaving the Nexo wallet app and with prices fixed at order submission. Their smart routing system gives a best price guarantee by connecting you to multiple exchanges. Now, if you're looking to park your crypto and earn yield, you can make up to 12% annual interest for doing absolutely nothing. If you're looking for a loan, they have them for as little as 5.9% APR, and you don't have to sell your crypto, which we all know is a taxable event. Their credit lines are also dynamic, meaning that as the value of your crypto goes up, so does your available credit. This is so cool and innovative, and I've never seen something like that before. So please check them out at nexo.io/exchange and put your crypto to work for you. Okay, so with a weird, some might say, semi-post-apocalyptic 2020 very much done and dusted, it's time to tear the new year in two and send your Bitcoin into play with a killer promo from the team at BitCasino. Drop a 5 milli Bitcoin minimum on any of the platform's 2,000 or so Bitcoin slots and get 200 free spins to use on the Legacy of Dead. To claim your 200 free spins, use the promo link bitcasino.io/Scott. That's SCOTT. Log in or register an account, head over to the rewards section and enable the bonus called Legacy of Dead 200FS. Wager 5 milli Bitcoin on any slot game after that, and you'll get 200 spins on the house just for being you. BitCasino was ahead of the crypto game before the game got going. The original Bitcoin-led online gaming destination, they continue to set the standard for fun, fast, and fair gameplay. Deposit, wager, and withdraw in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Tron, and more, all in real time, all the time with BitCasino. Right. Moving along. So obviously you've invested in some alts, or you've traded a little bit, and you've kind of dabbled in that. Do you find that there's any parallels between your competitiveness from wrestling? I mean, you've obviously been a competitor your whole life, and how you approach trading or the market.
So I don't know. I'm not really. So I guess I'll say I learned my lesson the hard way. I bought a handful of alts that went to zero after the ICO bust and boom in 2017. So I have, I would say Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, which are kind of three mainstays. And then I bought some Cardano just because I heard a couple really smart people talking really well about it. And I bought it 8 cents. So I'm doing tremendous on that. And then the other thing that I have a large portion of my buddy, he started a company called Flow Sports and he was a CEO for about 10 years, and he kind of he got pushed out, and I had kind of gotten him into crypto, right? Where he started thinking about it. And he's actually started this company called Rockfin. It's a media platform, and they have a decentralized payment algorithm which pays in Ray token. And because we're really good friends, I was one of the first creators on the network. And actually,
cool.
I think his concept is genius. I think it's likely to go into other spaces, not just content creation. But the idea is that digitized networks. So this could be Uber, this could be Airbnb, it could be Facebook, YouTube, whatever. They take all the profit, and the people who supply the network with value get none of the profit.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously as those networks get bigger, they can actually squeeze the creators or the providers of service. And so what they do is every single day, there's a 10,000 token payout, regardless of who's on the network. And then obviously as the network gains more subscribers and followers, the value of the token goes up. And so when I earned my token at, a lot of more like 10 to 15 cents, and now it's, $3 or whatever, I have seen my value grow with the network. And I always say, like Uber had a first 10 drivers. How much did those guys get paid? Well, whatever the market rate was. Yeah. How much value did those guys provide to the network? Because without them, Uber doesn't exist. And you can say that with the first 100, first 1,000. And so these early adopters provide so much value to the network. And it's kind of like Bitcoin, right? The first people bought into Bitcoin, they saw their value grow with the value of the network.
That makes so much sense. Incentivizing people to believe in you, because those people are taking a huge risk. Yeah. Right. They could go to any platform. They could use some old legacy system where they know they're going to make money, and they're rolling the dice on your idea. So they should definitely get paid. And it's sad. And crypto does solve that in a lot of different projects. It's really, really cool. I was more just thinking, because I'm a very competitive person. So like as a trader and investor, the biggest problem for me initially was that I just hated losing. So like if my balance was going down, it like emotionally affected me. I thought I was like not winning. You know what I mean? More even than the dollar value dropping. I just hate losing. And I know you've got to be that way. I mean, you're Olympian.
Oh man, I don't know. I kind of see it as a separate from me. I guess maybe because it's not my main point of focus, and I don't actually trade a lot. I mostly just buy and sold a really small portion of what I've bought. No, I mean, I love partying on people when Bitcoin goes up, and so I lived through the entirety of the bear market. I didn't sell shit. I started my podcast, the Funky Crypto Show, with John in like the middle of the bear market. We started in, I think it was October of 2019, right? So that was like dead smack in the middle of the bear market. So I know I don't get too down. Maybe in the beginning when I lost, because I probably went up 3x from my initial investment, 3 to 4x in the beginning, and then I went down by like 90% or 85%.
I think a lot of people have been there. That's good though. It means you're stone cold emotionally. I mean, I've gotten over that long since. I find the same thing. Like I get pissed off if I lose a fantasy football game, but I can like sit here and watch Bitcoin drop and it's fine. So it's kind of a strange phenomenon. So I'm curious, how did you meet John, and why did you decide to start the podcast? I came on, it was like the most fun I've ever had in a 30-minute or 45-minute conversation. You guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, let's see. So John just started reaching out to me. I don't even remember why at this point. And I said something like, "Hey, bro, there's UFC in Milwaukee. If you want to stop by, just hit me up when you come in town," or something to that effect. And sure enough, this dude showed up and hit me up. So I'm like, "Okay, let's go. Let's go to dinner." Want dinner? We kind of, he's friendly. We hit it off, and that was kind of what started it. And then, kind of maintained a friendship for a while. And then like I said, I love crypto and I believe in it, and I think it's going to help. I think it has helped a lot of people. And it's going to continue to help people. So then I had been podcasting for wrestling a lot, and I just said to him, like, "Hey, why don't we start an MMA podcast?" I'm sorry, MMA. Damn it, do my podcast. Why don't we start a crypto podcast? I know I'm not the biggest expert in the world. He's smarter than he lets on.
He's a smart
But he
guy.
also wouldn't be like an expert. But I'm like, dude, I got a huge following, and we can just talk like normal people about crypto, because to that point, most of the crypto podcasts I'd listen to, it's like, dude, you got to kind of be deep to listen to this. Like, you got to know your shit. Otherwise, you're not even going to start. And that was kind of how we started.
I think that's really, really smart and really important, because like the number doesn't keep going up unless we get everyone in on this, right?
Yes.
And you need every person to be interested. You need to speak to them in a language that they understand. I think you guys do a great job. So that said, with this huge boom, have you guys noticed, growth in the podcast, or a lot more interest? Are people hitting you up about crypto a lot more than they were before?
Yeah. So the podcast, I would say the numbers have went up they've been kind of trending upwards. We get our best numbers on Twitter, because we actually go live on there.
Awesome.
It's pretty. And John was the one who set that all up. Like, I had no idea how to do or anything. So yeah, so I guess too, right now we're sitting at 13,000 viewers for yesterday. That's just on Twitter. So yeah, it's going really well. I always laugh though. I told so many people to buy Bitcoin. Pretty much that. So I got in, let's see, August 2017. The run up was relatively short. It was only like 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
And then it started going down. And so from that period went down, I still believed in it. I told so many people to get into it. And, so we really had I know we had a little bump up in 2018, I think, or 20, I don't know. We had a bump up at some point in there. But there was a long stretch where it was under $10,000, like a really multi-year stretch.
Yeah.
And I tried telling so many people to get in, especially March 13th when it crashed. And I think there was one person that I know that bought under $10,000. And I think I know about 20 people who have bought over 20,000. And they needed that for them to get into it. And now every one of them's like, "Oh, I bought it 24. I wish I would have listened to you when it was 5 or 7 or whatever,
Kind of goes back to what you were saying about being the one who's willing to commit to it early, right?
Yeah.
People love to ride the train and come in later. I've had the same kind of experience. People just starting to come in super late, buying over 50,000 even, because they're starting to finally hear about it. But I mean, in general, do you think that we have a much more public awareness and people interested in the space than the previous few years when you've been here?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and there's more recognition. There's so many more resources now than there were. It's so much easier. I mean, buying Bitcoin in 2017 was maybe not all that tricky. Buying anything besides Bitcoin in 2017,
it's very tricky,
bro. It was so
dude.
hard.
The first time I went on Bittrex and everything was like in sats, and I was like, what? Like, is this some weird casino? Am I getting hacked? What's happening right now?
So
it's
wild.
a nightmare.
Yeah, and then the other thing in 2021 now is like, there's really not any more FUD. There's nothing else to say. I mean, the one thing that people have been going, "Oh, it produces a lot of carbon emissions." Like, that's their best argument at this point. There's nothing else they can say anymore. And in 2017, there was all kinds of crazy stuff being said. And now 2021, you're not hearing like almost anything.
Yeah, I mean, you hear the opposite. You hear big companies now totally supporting it and calling it a hedge. I mean, you talked to Michael Saylor. What was that experience like? Because I talked to him too, and I was like, couldn't sleep for 3 days.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And just he's both brilliant, and then also the way he kind of lays things out is so intelligent and so smooth. He's been kind of a godsend for the crypto community. I feel like he's been this guy leading the charge, and he leads it so well. And now obviously what he did, like, was it two to 3 weeks ago now with the CEO conference? You know, we saw publicly now they've brought in Tesla, largely due to that conference. And I got to assume there's going to be a whole bunch more that are already buying that maybe haven't announced yet. But the notion that Tesla would be like the one and only out of 10,000 is so ridiculous.
Yeah, I think there were at least 2,000 there. I said this the other day. I was like, if 5% of them were convinced, then that's like 100 companies.
Yeah.
And we've only seen like 6 or 7 companies so far. And look what it's done to price. I mean, imagine if we see like Apple or Google or one of these, but even smaller companies, man, it really is kind of all happening. It's so crazy. I never thought that we'd have a guy like Michael Saylor and Mark Cuban like out there talking about crypto as
Mark
sort of
Cuban,
like,
he's annoying because it was only like 2
he
months
hated
ago
it.
where he said he'd rather have a banana than a Bitcoin. And it's like, I mean, I guess maybe great you came to the light, and I appreciate. I always think the smartest people can change their minds, right?
That's
Dumb
so
people
true.
are the ones who get stuck in this thing. And, you know, like Michael Saylor had that really famous old tweet where he was talking shit on Bitcoin.
Yeah, it was like 2013, of course.
Yeah, it was a really long time ago. And smart people have the ability to change their mind. When new information comes to light, they read it, they think about it. And if it doesn't match with what they previously thought, they're willing to change their minds. So I'm glad Mark Cuban finally came to the light, but he was so annoying for so long.
He was, but it's nice to see. Yeah, but then, you know, to admit that you're wrong and go the other way, like I definitely respect that. But the point being, I still didn't foresee that we would be like relying on guys like Saylor and Elon Musk in 2021, like carrying Bitcoin up. It really is like a dream. It's crazy.
Elon Musk is, I mean, he's one of those ones that it makes so much sense. And like you had to figure it was going to happen, but when it actually happened, it was like, yes, this is tremendous.
So I'm curious, like you're in it. Are you seeing in the sports scene, specifically in wrestling, are you seeing more people care about this? We obviously see stories like guys in the NFL starting to get paid in Bitcoin. I mean, we saw Dinwiddie like tokenize his salary and stuff. Like, do you think that it's gaining?
That's fascinating, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that we're gaining any traction with athletes?
I mean, there's definitely an awareness, and there kind of has been for a long time in mixed martial arts. And I think mixed martial arts kind of people are okay. They think outside the box a lot. And so we've seen that in mixed martial arts. As far as other sports, I can't really say that I have a finger on their pulse at all. But I think it's just everyone's going to be, you know, figuring this out, that this is the way, that this is the future within maybe not, you know, if it's not this cycle, it's the next one. So what, we're maximum probably 5 years away from that happening.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would say MMA guys are inherently risk takers, right?
Yes, risk takers and outside the box thinkers, not willing to kind of be on their own. That's definitely the case.
Do you think like you have to be really programmed differently or wired differently to be a fighter?
Oh man,
I don't want to get my ass beat on a daily basis personally, you know.
Well, so my one buddy always jokes that there's just such a low barrier to entry. You get all kinds of people because, you know, to be a professional, say, football player, you have to go through, you play high school football, you play college football, you get drafted. There's like this really systematic process to going. And to be a professional MMA fighter, all you have to be willing to do is take an ass whooping for $500. You can call yourself a pro MMA fighter. So, you know, I think we just get all kinds of people in our sport.
So I mean, you said that.
Hey, wait, Scott, are you in on this celebrity crypto boxing?
No, but I'm down. I'm not trying to fight you. I'm not trying to fight you.
Jason Williams said he wanted to fight Peter McCormick, and then it caught on because our guest yesterday, Bit Boy, he said he wanted to fight this guy, Jason Appleton, the Crypto Crow.
Okay.
And so now we already got 2 matchups. So now we just need like a promoter. Who do you want to fight?
I don't want to fight any. I don't dislike anyone, man. I'll fight Sailor for $1 billion.
Ooh, Michael Saylor.
Just I
Okay.
love the guy, but
No,
like
it's gonna be for
maybe I can get the.
charity.
Oh, okay. I don't want to fight Sailor. Then I love that guy. I'd fight Cuban.
Yes, there we go. There we go.
I don't
Nice.
know. Honestly, man, I've got in my old age, I have a very zen-like approach to life. I try to like. There's probably 1,000 people hiding behind like Pepe and frog memes on Twitter that I wouldn't mind. If they came out in the open, but usually the people take shots at me are anonymous,
Yeah. That's
which is funny. But that's kind of the nature of this space is that you can sit behind your computer and act tough. But speaking of which, so you said you retired for the first time
mhm.
earlier, right?
Yeah.
So then what was that like retiring and what made you come back?
Yeah. So when I retired, I don't want to go through the whole saga of my career. I initially signed with Bellator MMA, kind of they were in season 2, so not right away, but um, and I won that belt and I maintained that belt for roughly 3 years. And when I finished my time there, um, my plan was to go to the UFC because I just love competition. I wanted to prove I was best in the world. It didn't work out between Dana and I for some reasons, and so I ended up going to one championship. So I fought there from 2014 to 2017. Was also the champ for roughly 3 years, and then it was just like I didn't have any challenges left unless I could go fight the guys who were ranked above me because that was all I really wanted to do. I hadn't made enough money. I wanted to move on with my life. We have these wrestling academies, and there's other things I like to do. And so I said, I'm retired. If I ever get the opportunity in whatever way it presents itself to come back and prove that I'm the best in the world, I will take that opportunity and I will do it. Right. So then roughly a year later, I got a call about a trade from one championship to the UFC, and at that point, and I guess still to this point, that's the only trade that's ever happened in the history of mixed martial arts. It's never been done before then. It's never
Yeah.
been done after then. So I got traded for Demetrius Johnson to the UFC, and so I was like, okay, let me come out of retirement because I'm going to get this opportunity to fight the best guys in the world. I fought 3 times. I won my first one. I got ranked as high as number 4. Unfortunately, I lost my second one and my third one, and then I had to. I don't like saying it this way. I had to retire because I had to have hip surgery. Even without the hip surgery, my second retirement career wasn't going to last that long. Like I was coming
Right.
back for a very specific purpose. If I couldn't do that, I was going to be retired again. But I did have to have hip surgery, so I got my hip fixed. I wish I would have known Corona would happen, and I would have got done way earlier
Yeah.
before Corona. But I got my hips fixed in September of last year, and it's tremendous. It's so much better. And then that retirement, I said, I'm retired. If I have any just fun opportunities to come back, I will consider them. And so then that's why, this Jake Paul thing, I say this is not becoming a retirement. This is like an old guy doing a hobby.
He doesn't view it that way, I would imagine. But
Yeah,
it's
I
like a
mean,
celebrity boxing match.
he thinks for some reason he's actually good at boxing. I'm intending to prove that is not the case.
So how did it happen? Like, there's he's a YouTuber. Obviously,
Yes.
he had his one celebrity fight with Nate, and he won. But I mean, that was against a basketball player.
Yes. Yeah, and then he also fought against some other YouTuber who was really, really bad at really bad at boxing. So he just like called me out for what it was really strange. He called me out and I said, okay, whatever. And I thought it was just like, a lot of hot air because I have a relatively big name. He probably thinks I'm not great at stand up because my background is wrestling. Um, and whatever. Okay. I said, tweet a couple times, figured it'd pass. Then like a couple weeks later, they text me a few times. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. If you guys want to fight, I like combat and you pay me good, I'm in. And then they come out with silent again. And then they came back to the table and said, here's our offer. It was really good. And then I said, okay, I guess I'm going to be a celebrity boxer.
So when is that fight happening, and what does your training look like? Because I would imagine even any fight you sort of have to take seriously, regardless, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, I'm a pro, so I'm going to train, and I have been training. Um, but it's funny because I was in retirement, I was living my regular life, doing my regular things, and now it's kind of like it's tough because you have to kind of reset and figure out how to schedule all your workouts within the day that within everything else I had going on, right? My crypto podcast, my wrestling practices, and everything else. It's April 17th. I'm feeling really good. I'm really like, I can't believe I hadn't punched anything in like 15 months, right? From the time I retired to when I decided to do this hobby, I had not struck anything. And so it was like, it's funny how fast it comes back. And yeah,
That's
I'm really
good.
excited for it.
And where are people going to be able to watch the fight?
You know what? I don't even know the answer. I don't even know the
But
answer.
we will. We will. I'm
We will.
assuming.
I will have an answer for you at some point in time. I just don't know when.
So what does that day look like now? Like, what does your average day look like with all of these different things going on?
Yeah, it's been oh man, it's been crazy, especially the first call. It's starting to slow down now. I think I'm only doing your podcast and maybe one other this week, but like the first couple weeks, it was like shoot. One day I think I did like 5 or 6 podcasts. Like it was
It's
totally
exhausting.
insane. So
Yeah.
crazy. So yeah, I train like about 8 times a week, so that means twice a day, a couple times, and once a day, a lot of times. I've brought in a couple extra boxing coaches. Just kind of that's it. It's simple. It's actually way more simple than MMA because the MMA, you have to have a jiu-jitsu coach, you got to have your wrestling coach, you got to have your striking coach, and got to have your strength and conditioning coach. And boxing, it's just like, well, I'm gonna just
Go hit
box. I can only
stuff.
just punch stuff as much as possible. I have a boxing coach, and that's it.
But like, are your days insanely long? Do you get up insanely early? Like,
I'm not an
like,
early riser. I'm way more productive at night.
yeah.
So yeah, I always I'm probably like say 7:30 to 11:30. I try to get my 8 hours of sleep every night, but I would say I'm like I said, like probably between 11 and midnight, and then up between 7 and 8, somewhere around there. Um, 3 mornings a week, I have my wrestling podcast at 8:15 a.m. So I kind of get up, hang out with my kids for a little bit, and then I come downstairs here, do my podcast, and then we have wrestling practice at night, and I'm going to kind of wean myself off of that as we get closer to fight. I'm going to coach a few less practices. I'm traveling a few times to do some training. So yeah, more and more focus on the fight. And then after April 17th, I get to go back to my real life again.
So what's the academy like? What are you guys doing there? Are you training future professionals? Is it kids? Is it
Yes.
college students? What is it like?
So yeah, we're 5 through 18-year-olds, only kids. We don't really coach any adults in any way, shape, or form. Um, we have a ton of success. We've been really, really busy. We finished our state championships. We had 21 state champions.
Wow.
There's only 42 in the state of Wisconsin, and we don't really have a lot of people in the smallest division. So in the biggest division, Wisconsin, the most highly populated, we had 12 of the 14 state champions. So yeah, we're doing really well. We have a lot of guys that wrestling in college right now. So I guess our goal is just to teach them to love wrestling, to teach them to be good at it, and then ideally they go and wrestle in college.
I'm curious. I was shocked that I saw with the Jake Paul thing that there was like some media that think he's favored. Like,
Yeah, he's a betting favorite right now. I mean,
do
listen,
you
I
find that
never
like
did.
incredibly motivating? What does that feel like?
I mean, it just to me, and I've known this for a very long time. It's the ignorance of the public, right? The public is not always have the best idea of what's going on. I really only wrestled in my fights. I didn't do a gigantic amount of stand up. So yes, people do not think highly of my stand up skills, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like what has he ever been good at athletically? And the answer is, to my knowledge, is nothing. He's never been good at anything. And just because he beat up 2 guys who've never ever fought before doesn't actually mean he's good at boxing. It means he just picked really, really weak opponents.
I mean, do you think that he legitimately believes he's like a professional level boxer, that this is his future, or is it like a lot of hype and steam? Because I just don't get it.
I gotta think he knows he's not really that good, is what I have to imagine. Although, there are certain cases where celebrities or people of high net worth convince themselves that they're good at something, and then people who are around them are like lackeys to them.
Enablers.
They're enablers, and they'll never put that person in a position to realize, hey, you're dog shit in practice. So this person keeps this belief going because anyone who would tell them, and this is not just in athletics, right? This could be in other avenues.
Yeah.
Business a lot.
Politics,
Also,
my God. Yeah.
Politics. Yeah, exactly. If they tell that person, hey, you suck, then they're gone. And so that's kind of, I think that's kind of probably what's happening, to my guess.
Yeah, I would imagine. It's like in a movie, you know, you got your like little hype man dude who runs around holding your
Yes.
towels and tells you how amazing you are all day and start to believe your own
Mm-hmm.
hype. Um, so back to Bitcoin. Now, what do you see as you were talking about the cycle? Clearly you think we're going much higher, 80, 100,000 you were kind of talking about. Do you think that it's reasonable to start talking about those 300,000, 700,000 $1 million targets, or do you think that that's more euphoria?
Oh, I mean, I think a million. I kind of think like a million. When I think about how big I think it's gonna be, sometime a million feels like a little bit low, actually. And I don't know if that's gonna take 3 cycles. I don't
Yeah,
know if it's take 20 years. I don't know how long it's gonna take. But when you think about all the money, if it really is the best money, which I think it is, I would say, hey, this is the best money
I
that's ever
agree.
been created by human beings. Um, Everyone will want some, and it's going to be worth way more than $1 million for this cycle. I always just say, when people ask me, I say, listen, on the low end, likely 6 figures. On the high end, people are predicting 300 to 400,000. That's a gigantic window. It's going to be somewhere in there. Like, I'm probably going to be right. It's going to
It's
be
so
somewhere
funny.
in that
Like
window.
I try to get my head mentally wrapped around like hitting 400,000 and then like having a 75% drop and being sad that we're at 100.
Yeah. I mean, I think, man, I feel like we're going to see like not quite as steep of a drop.
I agree. Yeah.
I think we're going to see something more like 50 to 60,
We have
which,
I
that
think
still seems
that,
like a
yeah.
lot, but compared to 75 to 80 last time, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, I think that institutions are providing a floor that wasn't there before. There's just much
Yes.
bigger money that doesn't want to lose and much more, I think, interest in buying. So
Mm-hmm.
I know we're up against it here with time. So where can everybody follow you after this? Keep up with what you're doing. And then we'll put out where they can watch the fight later.
Awesome. Yeah, I just at Ben Askren on Twitter and Instagram. I'm way more active on Twitter. I think there's a much more intelligent community there. I do post on Instagram. I don't really love using Instagram.
Same.
The crypto Twitter community is tremendous. So those two platforms are really where to find me.
Yeah, and you guys check out the podcast as well. Well, thank you, man. I know that you're super busy training and everything. Good luck with the fight, and thank you so much for taking the time.
All right, appreciate it, Scott. Have a great day.
All right, man. You too.
See ya.
Let's go.